Tonight, Congresswoman Liz Cheney loses her place in House leadership.
We must go forward based on truth. We cannot both embrace the big lie and embrace the Constitution.
What's next for the splintered GOP? And escalating violence in the Middle East.
Hamas must understand that we will not tolerate this indiscriminate terror against our civilian population.
The latest on the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Plus, new data from the southern border highlights the immigration issues facing the Biden administration. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
A turning point for Republicans on Capitol Hill. Good evening and welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
Tonight, the third-ranking Republican in the House is out of her job as chairwoman of the GOP conference. Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney was voted out of her party's leadership, in large part due to her vocal condemnation of former President Trump.
Cheney took aim at him, labeling Trump's false claims of widespread election fraud as, quote, the big lie. And today she vowed to work to keep Trump from ever becoming president again.
I will do everything I can to ensure that the former president never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office. We have seen the danger that he continues to provoke with his language. We have seen his lack of commitment and dedication to the Constitution. And I think it's very important that we make sure whomever we elect is somebody who will be faithful to the Constitution.
Now, President Trump, in a statement after the vote, trading barbs of his own, calling Cheney, quote, a bitter, horrible human being who has no personality, adding that she's a, quote, warmonger whose family stupidly pushed us into the never-ending Middle East disaster, of course referring to America's war on terror in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. Now, Representative Cheney's leading replacement as chairwoman is New York Republican Elise Stefanik, whose record is less in line with Trump's than Cheney's. Vote tracking shows Stefanik only voted with Trump 77.7% of the time in her 3 terms, while Cheney voted with the president 92.9% of the time during her congressional career.
Meanwhile, the Biden administration is trying to gain some Republican support for its $2 trillion infrastructure plan. Today, President Biden hosted bipartisan talks with congressional leaders.
What we're going to talk about today is, when I ran, I said I wasn't going to be a Democratic president. I was going to be a president for all Americans. And what the bottom line here is, we're going to see whether we can reach some consensus on a compromise. And moving forward, we're going to talk a lot about infrastructure today.
Among the Republicans at the White House today, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Earlier this week, McConnell said he'd agreed to an infrastructure bill costing no more than $800 million, adding that the president's $2.3 trillion proposal includes things unrelated to infrastructure.
For more now, we turn to CBN Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, great to see you again. Let's just start right with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. He was at the White House today, and he got asked by reporters about Congresswoman Liz Cheney's removal from GOP leadership. He said, and I quote, "I don't think anyone is questioning the legitimacy of the presidential election." David, isn't that what all of this is about?
Yes. Sorry, didn't mean to laugh through that answer. Yes. What is he talking about? Look, leave it to us at Faith Nation. We are on top of it. Seriously, I mean that, because this will be a big story in the next 24 hours that will grow. He will take a lot of criticism for that, not just from liberals and not just from Democrats. He's going to take some heat from conservatives, conservatives who will say, of course, this is what this election was all about. So, look, I think he's trying to be too cute by half. I think he's trying to have it both ways. I think he wants to kind of move on. But look, if you're going to question the legitimacy of the election, you can't come out and say, I don't question the legitimacy of the election. I mean, this is, can I scratch my head on television? I can't believe that.
Yeah. David, so are Republicans then allowed to disagree with former President Trump, or is he off limits? I want to read you a tweet from Senator Lindsey Graham today. Liz Cheney has been a solid conservative and strong voice on national security, but she has taken a position regarding former President Trump, which is out of the mainstream of the Republican Party. David, your thoughts?
Well, he's right. He's 100% right. Liz Cheney is a solid conservative, full stop. ... Who cares? Because right now it's about the election integrity issue. And so he's right on the second point, Lindsey Graham is, which is that she is out of step with mainstream Republicans. And so that's where we are today in the Republican Party, as we cover this. And, this is going to be a day and really a year and a half or so of reckoning as we go up to 2022. I think ultimately the way this is going to shake out, guys, is what is it going to look like in 2022? Do Republicans take back the House? Do they take back the Senate? Do these laws that were passed in Georgia and Arizona and Texas, all these, does it mean anything? And if it does, Republicans are going to be emboldened to see, we needed to shore up election integrity laws. I told you, and Trump was right, so to speak, in terms of making sure this gets done correctly. Hey, look, even in London, right? Even in the UK, Queen Elizabeth and Boris Yeltsin and the whole gang over there want to make sure they have voter ID at the polls. So, look, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
We will see. All right, David Brody, thank you so much. Great to get your analysis.
You bet.
Thanks, David. Well, turning now to the Middle East, another deadly day in the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Among those killed in Israel, a soldier and a 6-year-old in the city of Sderot. In the Gaza Strip, Israeli forces targeted and killed key military figures from the Hamas terror group. As the fighting continues, the leader of Hamas is calling for Israeli Arabs to rise up, sparking what some are calling a civil war. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing that terrorists will pay a heavy price. CBN's Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell brings us more from Jerusalem.
In the heaviest fighting since 2014, Hamas and other terror groups fired more than 1,000 rockets within a day and a half. It's the largest ever rocket fire on south and central Israel. The rocket salvos and the interceptions by the Iron Dome anti-missile system lit up the night sky over Tel Aviv in what looked like a Star Wars battle. Israel suspended flights from David Ben-Gurion Airport for an hour when rocket fire hit nearby. During the day, the skies over southern Israel witnessed the aerial battle between the rockets and the Iron Dome. The Israel Defense Force says the Iron Dome has shot down more than 90% of the rockets. 5 Israelis have been killed by the rocket fire.
All of these rockets were fired from densely populated civilian areas in Gaza by terrorists, blatantly disregarding human life and security of Palestinians and aiming to kill Israeli civilians. We are responding to Hamas's aggression by firing rockets at Israel, at our capital, and by forcing more than 1.5 million Israeli civilians into shelter.
In a campaign called Guardians of the Wall, Israel launched more than 500 surgical airstrikes to stop the rocket fire. Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz said they have many more targets to hit. 35 Palestinians have died in the attacks. The IDF says most of those were involved in the rocket attacks. The IDF has also killed several leaders of Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. They toppled this building housing Hamas offices. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with Israel's security cabinet.
The conclusion of the meeting is to increase even more the force of the strikes and also the rate of the strikes. Hamas will now receive blows that it did not expect, and I know that this also involves patience and a certain sacrifice on your part, citizens of Israel.
On Tuesday, the U.S. State Department weighed in on the fighting.
Israel has the right to defend itself and to respond to rocket attacks. The Palestinian people also have the right to safety and security, just as Israelis do.
And the worst riots in more than 20 years rocked the Israeli town of Lod when Israeli Arabs rioted, burned synagogues, and set fire to dozens of cars. Israel declared a state of emergency, and the mayor called it a civil war. Inside Gaza, Hamas vowed to keep fighting, and its leader, Ismail Haniyeh, said it shifted the balance of power. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad posted this video thanking Iran for the new Badr 3 missile. It's another sign Iran is directly involved in this conflict. Last year, Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei admitted for the first time his country was supplying weapons. He said Iran realized Palestinian fighters' only problem was a lack of access to weapons. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thank you, Chris. Well, international religious freedom took the center stage at the State Department today as Secretary Antony Blinken released the department's 2020 report on the matter.
Religious freedom is a human right. In fact, It goes to the heart of what it means to be human, to think freely, to follow our conscience, to change our beliefs if our hearts and minds lead us to do so, to express those beliefs in public and in private. And whenever human rights are denied, it ignites tension, it breeds division. As this year's International Religious Freedom Report indicates, for many people around the world, this right is still out of reach.
And some of the worst offenders highlighted in this year's report include Iran, China, Burma, Russia, Nigeria, and Saudi Arabia, which Secretary Blinken noted is the only country in the world without a Christian church, despite more than 1 million Christians living there.
Here with us now, Penny Nance, President and CEO of Concerned Women for America. Penny, great to see you. You just heard Secretary Blinken say there he singled out Saudi Arabia for not having any Christian churches in the country, and he connected religious freedom to human rights. Penny, what would you like to see the Biden administration do to back up statements like that and advance religious freedom? Penny, can you hear me?
We will be right back after this.
Oh, guys.
To have sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Well, we think we got our audio issues resolved, so we're going to try again with Penny Nance with Concerned Women for America. Penny, you heard Antony Blinken. He was connecting religious freedom to human rights. What would you like to see the Biden administration do to back up statements like that and advance religious freedom?
Well, and that's correct. Religious freedom is a universal human right that was endowed by our Creator. A state can't give it, and a state cannot take it away. It comes from God. And so in the United States, we're founded on this principle. I just wish that the Biden administration would recognize that right for Christians in this country, that they would recognize that a caker in Colorado has a right to refuse to bake a cake for a same-sex marriage because it is against his faith. I wish that the Biden administration would not try to engage in the moral equivalency between what is happening and the terrorism that's been rained down on the Israelis today, right now, and what's happening in Palestine. What's happening in Gaza. So it is just very important that we are very clear thinking on this. The Trump administration led on this issue. I was very grateful to be with them at the opening of the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, when the Trump administration, after 22 years of other presidents promising this, actually moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. We've been very clear on this issue in the past. Unfortunately, the Biden administration's weakness makes it less safe for people around the world, for Christians around the world, and does not help Christians in this country.
Penny, so, from China to Saudi Arabia to here at home and what you were talking about, conscience protections, what do you see right now as the biggest threat to religious freedom?
I think that you are seeing this, and there's been reports on this massive increase in anti-Semitism. In the last 2 years, there has been an astronomical rise of anti-Semitism. In this country, there's been over 100 incidents. Certainly, you have incidents in the Middle East of violence against Christians. He mentioned Saudi Arabia, but you could mention other Middle Eastern countries as well. And so it is very important that the U.S. lead on this issue. But we have to be, as I said before, very clear-eyed on what the challenges are here in the United States, here at home, particularly when you have this woke culture that is marginalizing Christians in our own nation.
All right, Penny Nance with Concerned Women for America. Thank you so much. It's great to have you on this evening.
Thanks.
Thank you, Penny. Well, tonight, calls for action at the southern border, where the government recorded the largest monthly number of migrants in 15 years as they attempted to cross in April.
The number of children making the trek has eased. Eric Phillips joins us now. Eric, who is trying to get across the border?
Well, John and Jenna, about 178,600 illegal migrants tried to cross the border in April, most of them single adults. In fact, the number of families and children trying to cross the border slightly down. But try telling that to a Texas farmer who made a shocking discovery on his property.
5 young girls, the oldest 7, the youngest just 11 months old, discovered on a Texas farm Sunday just across the southwest border.
This is where my husband found them this morning when he was checking on the farm. He thought one of them was dead.
Officials say 3 of the girls are from Honduras, the other 2 from Guatemala.
This is one of our workers' wives right here taking care of this tiny one. No one with these children dumped out on the side of the river here on our farm.
If there's no other reason for Joe Biden to say he's got to change, think about all these young children and what's happening to them.
Senator Rick Scott held a press conference Wednesday to apply pressure to the White House to do more to secure the border.
Kamala Harris could have walked to the border, walked to the Texas border in the time that she's been given the responsibility to solve this problem and not done anything.
20,000 migrant minors are in HHS care right now in long-term facilities. Speakers in Wednesday's press conference pointing the finger for the swell of migrants squarely at the president, who immediately repealed many Trump-era immigration policies.
As someone who knows this situation inside and out, as someone who has to live this, my agents and I, we live this day in and day out. As someone who sees this, I can confidently say that President Biden owns this crisis. It is his fault.
Officials criticized Biden not only for repealing Trump policies, but for not introducing new ones. And here's what makes the situation more challenging. Those trying to cross the border illegally are persistent. Border Patrol agents reporting that some 40% of those who cross the border are repeat offenders. John and Jenna.
Wow. Well, thank you, Eric. Well, filling up the tank is getting harder for people along the East Coast. Fuel shortages are hitting gas stations due to that cyber attack against the country's largest pipeline. 4 governors have now declared states of emergency as panicked motorists drive up demand for fuel, leaving many gas stations running on empty.
Much as there was no cause for, say, hoarding toilet paper at the beginning of the pandemic, there should be no cause for hoarding gasoline.
Everywhere I go, it's bags over the gas pumps.
I don't want to hoard up anything. I'm just trying to make sure I can get to my appointments.
This evening, Colonial Pipeline is expected to announce if and when they can fully reopen their system.
Coming up, America's role in the global pandemic, how the U.S. is helping lead the fight against COVID.
Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
Well, welcome back. A new report out today is placing blame on political leaders worldwide for failing to properly respond to the coronavirus. The Independent Panel for Pandemic and Preparedness and Response says COVID-19 remains a global disaster, but the group says what made it worse was that it was preventable. The report finds, quote, weak links at every point in the chain of preparedness and response. Preparation was inconsistent and underfunded. The alert system was too slow and too meek, and that global political leadership was absent. To help end the pandemic, the panel recommends high-income nations commit at least 1 billion doses of vaccine to low and middle-income countries by the beginning of September and 2 billion by the middle of 2022.
Right now, India is the global epicenter of the virus. The country reporting more than 360,000 new infections today and at least 4,200 deaths.
And all of this made worse by a nationwide oxygen shortage. At one local hospital, CBN's Operation Blessing in India is stepping up to help meet the need. CBN's George Thomas reports.
With coronavirus infections in the U.S. dropping to their lowest levels in 7 months, India now under pressure to go into total lockdown as the nation grapples with the world's worst virus outbreak. The record daily infections soaring as demand for medical oxygen jumped 7-fold.
Because of the demand for oxygen, there is no doubt the black marketing, and the price have gone up like 300 to 400 times each. But the people are desperate to get oxygen.
Operation Blessings Victor Emmanuel is part of the team delivering 150 critical cylinders of medical oxygen to the Philadelphia Ambala Mission Hospital.
Now by Operation Blessing providing the oxygen to the hospital, we can treat close to 950 people over a span of 2 weeks. So that's a great blessing to the patients that are coming to the hospital.
The hospital, founded by an American missionary in 1887, is a designated COVID center treating hundreds of patients. The hospital's director telling CBN News that the nationwide lack of oxygen only compounds the crisis.
When the patients come with a low oxygen saturation, it is really a problem. Like we have to refuse the patients to get into the hospital.
Dr. Sadiq says the virus is devastating many Indian lives, including many Christians. More than 230,000 have died here from COVID so far, and experts warn deaths may double in coming weeks. Dr. Sadiq says the hospital is more than just a place to treat patients.
When the patient comes, every day we are praying 3 or 4 times for the patients, and when they come, they feel that there is a divine power working in the hospital.
India's health experts welcoming President Biden's move to waive COVID vaccine patents, allowing countries like India to boost their supply. Emmanuel urging people around the world to remember India during this time.
There is a lot of suffering all around. And I urge you to please pray for the nation of India, for healing, for God's comfort and peace.
George Thomas, CBN News.
Thank you, George. Coming up, forget middle school. Meet a 12-year-old who's surpassing all the standard educational expectations.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Well, finally tonight, while the pandemic caused some hardships for students across the country, one North Carolina boy decided to hit the books hard, finishing 4 years of school in just 12 months.
Mike Wimmer will graduate from high school and community college later this month. And get this, he is only 12 years old. On top of multiple ceremonies, Wimmer also will be recognized as the valedictorian of his high school class. As if his educational accomplishments weren't enough, the child prodigy has also started his own tech company. Its mission, building technology to help people live better lives. Mike Wimmer, he is a winner.
That's one way to put it. Well, thanks for watching Faith Nation.
Have a great night.